Okay, so we're gonna start with the very first bit of our first assessment. And so we're out here. So the first thing we're gonna do, if we look at our depressional wetland information sheet, we're gonna put some of the stuff in there, right? Name, our ID, etc. Go through that, today's date, etc. Who are the people that are doing the assessment, etc. And then we have to say, what is this place? Is this place a parking lot? Is it a healthy marsh? What the deal is. So we'll tick. And as you'll see, as we start going on, some of these things say sketch a picture. Some of these things say tick a box. Some of these things say give it a score, right? So it's trying to be as easy as possible when you're in the field. So if we were to do the full training for this, it would be several days. We would go to several sites. We would be with a bunch of people, and we would work through every single step, and we'd be discussing each step, right? We don't have that because of COVID, we can't really do that and all get together like that, but you guys get the basic picture. But note that to be an official CRAM person, you need to get certified. So they don't just want random people picking up the data sheet and ticking through it, right? But having said that, the idea is to make the sheet as easy as possible to conform. Every single wetland site is different from every single other one, right? Let's just be honest, right? So it's a challenge to create categories and tick boxes and scoring rubrics that we could all be confident that if Manu does it, and if Loretta does it, and whoever the heck does it, that we're going to get the same score, at least, highly likely to get the same score, right? And that's a challenge. So one of the reasons it's simple, or it's kind of more tick boxy, kind of fill in the thing, is to be easy to do and fast to do, rapid to do. But the other reason is so that there's their consistency. We could have 75 options for each of these categories, which would be a pain in the butt, right? And you really would have to spend your lots of time learning the exact difference between category 72 and category 73, right? If we have 3 or 4 categories, it's much easier. So it's much easier to train people, it's much easier to get consistent results, and we're much more likely that when we encounter the diversity in nature, that we're gonna still have a useful rule yardstick to compare things to, okay? So there we go. So depressional wetlands. So we say the logistics about where we are and names and dates and all that kind of stuff. Who are the people of our assessing folks? The category. So in this case, so we're doing the depressional wetlands. So let's say we're gonna do the floodplain area, not here exactly where I'm standing, but maybe the edge of this cleared area that way. So I would say that area is probably, we could call it pre-restoration, since we might be thinking about doing a restoration here. What are some of the other options? If we didn't take pre-restoration, what might we choose, you guys think? Ooh, it could be post-impact in the context of the disturbance. Sure, okay.
Training?
Yes. So training would probably be the best one for us, with the exception of usually training in this case, usually if you look at the Eco Atlas, which is this GIS repository of other people's CRAM surveys, we have a couple in each region that are designated training sites. So these are ones not just that some random consultants would have done, but actually the folks that created CRAM have gone to many times and had discussions about and been really clear that this is an A category or a B category or whatever. And so the data in there are really robust, and there's great support justification for that. So you'll find training sites. And so if we were doing this, like the whole focus of the class, let's say that's what we did for the class, I would be given lectures, we come out and do some examples, and then for the actual training ones, we would go to these specific training sites and do it because essentially, quote unquote, we know what the answer should be. But yeah, so I'd say training is another good one. Any other ones? Okay, it'll be project dependent, right? A bit. So for example, if we were trying to restore the floodplain on let's say that farmer over there decided he wanted to restore 10 acres of floodplain, right? We might come here and use this as a reference for what his floodplain might look like. So there's various possibilities here, but I think in the case of our class, I'd probably call it pre-restoration. Okay. And then known origin of the wetland. What do you guys say about origin of the wetland? The options are natural system or artificial. Natural system. So for this assessment area, for this area over here, I would call that natural. So yes, there is road, there is levee, there is, horse stuff, but by and large is a natural system. What would be an artificial system? An artificial system would be something like the treatment ponds at the city of Ventura, right? Or something of that nature. Okay, so natural system. Type of management, what would you guys say? The options are waterfowls, amphibians, general wildlife, sediment, water quality, stormwater, water supply, or different types of water supply, not managed, other. What would you guys say? I would say not managed. So for the water supply, so you guys were guessing water supply agriculture. This site specifically, again, we're talking about the AA. So there are ponds, part of the water district over there, but that's not in the AA, right? The AA is this little triangle over here. So I'd say not managed. Okay. One other one that could be possible that is common in a lot of these places would be vector control. So mosquito abatement, right? For things like West Nile virus, stuff of that nature. So that would go in an other if we knew that there was active county spraying for the mosquito over there. And we have a very active vector control district in this region, so that's a possibility. Which best describes the type of wetland? Freshwater, and again, this is one of those. So we've already picked our subtype of wetland, and this is going to be sort of further subtyping it. Freshwater, alkaline, brackish, other. Freshwater, yep. The AA encompasses entire wetland or portion of the wetland. Portion, right? We're just going to do that little chunk over there. Which describes, and I should say again, you guys should look back to the user manual. That has all the detailed exact justifications for all these things and the rules, etc. But since we're doing this quickly, okay. Which best describes the hydrological state of the wetland at the time of assessment? That would be today. Dry. Yes, I'd say good, dry. Although you got to walk around and kick the soil to make sure, but it's going to be dry. Next question. What is the apparent hydrological regime of the wetland? So this is not perennially flooded. This is more probably temporarily flooded, because we get temporary floods, but if we have a really poor rain year, it's not going to be really flooded. It's only going to be flooded in really kind of wet times.
So if they adjust the levee to where it should have been as a natural levee, would this get flooded seasonally?
Yes, are much more likely to be flooded seasonally, yes. So the question was, if we took down the levee, would that change the hydrology here? Absolutely. So another thing that we're not going to talk about in our class, but just realize one of the uses of CRAM is to do what ifs. So Jan would just said, hey, what if we took down what if we made it more flooding? Absolutely, you can do a version of this where you guesstimate what you think it would look like after the restoration. Or, for that matter, additional stressors. If we had a wildfire that came through and burned everything up, right? You can go through that. And then you can calculate the score at the end of that. And so you can sort of use that as a guide. Oh, look, there's a quail running around. So absolutely, one of the values of this simplistic system that's relatively easy to just say, tick a box, A, B, or C, is we can say, what if we did this? What if we did that? What if we did this management action? What if we did no management action, etc.? So absolutely. So I call this one temporarily flooded, I guess. Okay. Next page is, does your wetland connect with the floodplain of a nearby stream? Excellent question. So the answer here is only yes or no. And it says system subject to overbank flow, a dammed stream does not count. So what do you guys say? Yes or no?
I'd say no because of the levee.
Right. So the answer would be no here. But again, if you did the what if we took it down, it would change to yes. Or hopefully the point of doing that would be to allow this to change to yes. Next, does the wetland have a defined or undefined outlet? Hard to know. I would probably say undefined. There are a couple of culverts, popped through the wall of the levee. There's another quail running by right there. Oh, look there. It's a covey. They're coming out. They're like, whoa, dude, we got to cross this whole area. These people are weird looking. I don't know. I'm going to go very fast. I don't know. Yeah, so I would say the outlet is generally speaking undefined. So when the water floods in other words, it's going to percolate into the ground for the most part. It's not going to go out of a crack it's not going to go out of an opening in the levee kind of thing, right? Same thing for the inlet. I would say undefined inlet, even though we do have a couple of these, culverts sprinkled here and there. Are the inlet and outlet the same location? No. However, but if we did take down a segment of the levee, it could be the same, right? So the water could float in, and then when it drops out, it might go out the same part. But okay, so next question: is the topographic basin of the wetland distinct or indistinct? An indistinct topographic basin is one that lacks obvious boundaries between wetland and upland. So would you say this is distinct or indistinct? I got a vote for distinct. 2 votes for distinct. Other votes, you guys? Anybody else? Let's hear everybody else's votes. Yeah. So this one is pretty. One of the reasons I picked it is because it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty easy to see, at least grossly, where stuff is. So I'd call this distinct. Okay. Next one is photos. So here's where so Loretta was just asking a minute ago, do we take photos? And the answer is for this, you take photos. We're going to pause on that, but we would sit there and we would take a photo. Important that you guys have some photo management tools there. So back in the old days when all we had was film, a lot of times what we'd do is we'd have a slate or a piece of paper and write down what it is. So this is assessment area 1 northward. Take a photo of that condition or the Latin lawn or whatever the heck it is, and then take a photo. So that when you got the photos back, you would use the previous one in the roll to label what the next one was. You're still welcome to do that, right? Anytime you're doing stuff. One thing that's a quick trick when you're out in the field doing that and you're using something like a standard data sheet, you could go ahead and write out all your information, or you could just fill it out on this sheet and then take a picture of you pointing to whichever one it is, right? Now, for most of us, we're probably mostly going to be using our phones. Most of our phones have the capability of GPS. And so I would just make sure before I took this that I activated the metadata function on my phone that allowed the Latin lawn to be captured inside the image. But that's not good enough. It's great that that's embedded in there, but we also need to make sure we write it down. So a great tool to have in your toolkit, if you don't have it already, is a GPS app on your phone, right? You can also have a GPS, which is great, but let's face it, most of us are not going to carry around a GPS. We have our phone. So apps are really useful. The one I use and I've recommended for years and years just got decommissioned. So it's still on my phone, but you guys can no longer get it. But any free program that'll let you log points is pretty much useful. Generally speaking, here we're going to be using decimal degrees, so everything should be number dot number, not minutes, hours, seconds kind of thing. And yeah, okay. So then you guys are going to do a little quick site description. And so I'll take a quick 2-3 minutes. You guys can do a quick, 1 or 2 sentence, kind of what you think. Again, the assessment area, not where we're standing. The assessment area is over there. I think, let's do this. Hold on, I'm going to pause. So let's take a 10-minute break. If you guys need to stretch, go stretch. Go meander around in here for 10 minutes before you write anything down. And just kind of, keeping our safe, socially distanced area, but meander around. Again, our area is going to be, let's call it from the road to the levee, and from the edge of here over towards where our cars are, towards those palm trees. Okay, so 10-minute break. We'll meet back here in 10 minutes.